Have you ever noticed how the human brain can trick itself into believing things that aren't really true? Even the smartest people in the world fall for mental traps without realizing it. These traps are called logical fallacies, patterns of thinking that seem reasonable at first but fall apart when you look closer. They spread quickly because they play on emotion, bias, and the shortcuts our brains love to take. In today's video, we're going to look at 9 logical fallacies that can fool anyone. Yes, even you. By the end, you'll know how to spot them, protect yourself from being misled, and sharpen your critical thinking skills. Let's get started. Number 9. The post hoc fallacy. The post hoc fallacy happens when we assume that just because one thing happened after another, the first event must have caused the second. The Latin phrase for it is post hoc ergo propter hoc, which means after this, therefore because of this. Here's a simple example. You wear your lucky red socks, and your favorite team wins the game. Suddenly, you believe those socks are magical. But logically, there's no proof that the socks caused the win. The two events just happened close together in time. Why do we fall for this? Because the brain is a pattern-making machine. We are constantly looking for cause and effect relationships to make sense of the world. Most of the time, this helps us survive and learn. But sometimes we connect dots that don't actually belong together. We build stories that feel true even when they're not backed by evidence. The next time you find yourself linking two events, stop and ask, is there real proof that one caused the other? Or am I just seeing coincidence? Remember this key principle: correlation is not causation. Number 8. The bandwagon fallacy. If everyone's doing it, it must be right. That's the heart of the bandwagon fallacy. It tricks us into believing that something must be true simply because a lot of people accept it. We see it everywhere. Viral diets, trending products, social media challenges, even widespread conspiracy theories. When many people jump on board, it creates an illusion of credibility. But popularity does not equal truth. It only proves that a lot of people believe something, not that it's real or accurate. This fallacy taps into human psychology. For most of history, survival depended on the tribe. Going against the group could mean isolation or danger. That's why our brains still push us to fit in. If everyone around you believes something, your mind whispers, they must know something I don't. But here's the truth. Reality isn't decided by a vote. Truth stands on evidence, not consensus. So when you hear yourself thinking, well, everyone else believes it, pause and ask, is this popular because it's true? Or is it just comforting to go along with the crowd? Number 7. The appeal to authority fallacy. The appeal to authority fallacy happens when we believe something is true just because an authority figure, or someone who looks like an expert, says so. Imagine a celebrity posting health advice online. They may look confident, attractive, and popular, but that doesn't magically make them a doctor. We're tempted to trust them because authority feels safe. Confidence and status act as shortcuts for credibility in our minds. But confidence is not the same as correctness, and fame does not equal expertise. That doesn't mean we should ignore experts completely. It means we must check whether the expert actually has knowledge in the subject they're speaking about. Next time you hear a big claim backed by a big name, ask yourself, are they really qualified to speak on this topic, or am I letting status do my thinking for me? Number 6. The ad hominem fallacy. The ad hominem fallacy is one of the oldest tricks in the book. Instead of attacking the argument, we attack the person making it. It sounds like this: why should I take her opinion on climate change seriously? She didn't even graduate from college. Notice what happened here. The focus shifted away from the actual argument and onto the person's background. But whether she went to college or not doesn't automatically prove her point right or wrong. Discrediting the messenger feels easier than facing the message. Our brains do this because it feels safer. Challenging ideas can be uncomfortable, so instead we go after the person to protect our beliefs. But here's the truth. Good ideas can come from unexpected places, and even the most educated experts can be wrong. What matters is the strength of the argument, not the resume of the speaker. So next time you're tempted to dismiss someone because of who they are, ask, am I really addressing their point or just looking for an excuse to ignore it? Number 5. The Strawman Fallacy. The Strawman Fallacy happens when someone twists another person's argument into something exaggerated, extreme, or ridiculous, just to make it easier to attack. For example, if someone says, "We should improve public transportation," and the reply is, "Oh, so you want to ban all cars?" That's not what they said. But it's easier to argue against the twisted version than the real one. Why does this happen? Because dealing with complex arguments takes effort. Oversimplifying someone's words into a cartoon version feels like a shortcut. It makes you look like you've won the argument without actually engaging with the real point. But in the long run, strawman arguments block understanding. If you're arguing against something nobody actually said, you're not debating, you're dodging. When you feel tempted to oversimplify someone's view, pause and ask, am I engaging with their real argument, or just the easier version I made up in my head? Number 4. The appeal to emotion fallacy. The appeal to emotion fallacy happens when someone tries to win an argument not with evidence, but by stirring up feelings. You've probably heard arguments that sound like, think of the children. On the surface, it feels powerful. It tugs at your heart, and immediately your mind wants to agree. But notice what's missing: actual facts. The emotion might be real, but it doesn't prove whether a choice, policy, or idea is right or wrong. Our brains are wired to respond quickly to emotions. Fear, anger, hope, and sympathy grab our attention far faster than numbers, data, or logic. That's why emotional appeals are so persuasive, even if they have nothing to do with the truth. Now, emotion isn't bad. Compassion, concern, or moral conviction can help guide our values. But feelings should never replace evidence. If a claim makes you feel strong emotions, whether it's outrage, guilt, or excitement, that's your signal to slow down, not rush ahead. Ask yourself, is there real proof behind this message, or is it just pulling on my emotional strings? Feelings can shape what we value, but they don't settle facts. Evidence must always come first. Number 3. The slippery slope fallacy. The slippery slope fallacy appears when someone claims that one small action will automatically trigger a chain reaction leading to disaster. It usually sounds like this: if we allow this new rule, the next thing you know, we'll lose all our freedom. It's a dramatic picture, but it skips over all the steps, safeguards, and decisions that would actually happen in between. Why do we fall for it? Because the brain loves a dramatic story. A slippery slope paints a straight, frightening line from a small step to a catastrophic outcome. That sense of urgency makes us panic, even if the reasoning isn't solid. The truth is, most changes don't spiral into chaos. They lead to more discussions, more adjustments, and often more balance. So, the next time someone warns you that one small choice will lead straight to ruin, pause and ask, is this really a slope, or just a single step I need to examine more calmly? By breaking down the fear and looking at the actual evidence, you'll see that life rarely plays out as one straight slide toward disaster. Number 2. The circular reasoning fallacy. The circular reasoning fallacy is like chasing your own tail. It happens when someone tries to prove a point by simply restating their claim in different words, without giving real evidence. For example, why is he trustworthy? Because he says he's honest. That's not proof, it's just a loop. The conclusion is the same as the starting point, just disguised. Circular reasoning feels convincing at first because the brain hears both a question and an answer. It creates the illusion of logic, but nothing new is actually added. It's like echoing yourself louder and calling it proof. The way to spot this fallacy is simple: follow the chain of reasoning. If it just circles back to the original claim without introducing actual evidence, you've found a loop. Real arguments build on facts and explanations, not repetition. So, if an answer feels a little too neat, pause and ask, did this truly explain why? Or did it just repeat the claim in different words? Number 1. The false dilemma fallacy. The false dilemma fallacy, also called the black or white fallacy, forces you to choose between only two options when in reality there are usually many. It sounds like this: you're either with us or against us. But life is rarely that simple. Real experiences, opinions, and solutions usually live in the space between extremes. Think of it this way. Imagine someone saying the only ice cream flavors are vanilla or chocolate. But in reality, the freezer is full of dozens of options: strawberry, pistachio, cookies and cream, and so many more. By limiting choices to two, the false dilemma shuts out the complexity of real life. Why do we fall for it? Because the brain loves clear categories. Yes or no, right or wrong, friend or enemy. These labels make the world feel simpler and safer. But the cost of simplicity is missing nuance. We ignore the middle ground and the blended solutions that often work best. The next time you hear an argument framed as only two choices, pause and ask, what's being left out? Are there other possibilities here? More often than not, the truth lives somewhere in the uncomfortable but necessary middle. Outro, and there you have it, 9 logical fallacies that can fool even the smartest people. The post hoc fallacy reminds us that timing doesn't prove cause. The bandwagon fallacy warns us that popularity doesn't equal truth. The appeal to authority fallacy shows us that status doesn't guarantee expertise. The ad hominem fallacy reveals that attacking a person isn't the same as addressing their idea. The Strawman fallacy teaches us to respond to real arguments, not distorted ones. The appeal to emotion fallacy reminds us that feelings alone don't prove facts. The slippery slope fallacy shows that one step doesn't mean disaster is guaranteed. The circular reasoning fallacy warns us against empty loops. And the false dilemma fallacy pushes us to see beyond black and white thinking. The key to avoiding these traps is awareness. Once you learn to spot them, you begin to see them everywhere: politics, advertising, social media, even casual conversations. That awareness gives you the power to pause, question, and think more clearly. So the next time you hear an argument that feels persuasive, don't just react. Step back, look for the logic, and ask, am I being guided by evidence or by a fallacy? If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on critical thinking, psychology, and human behavior. And let me know in the comments, which fallacy do you notice the most in your daily life? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.